What's up, guys? It's Brandon Flash. You're joining me in rainy Gardermoen, probably butchering that name, Norway, right outside of the main Oslo Airport. And I just want to give you guys a tour of this Circle K because I think this is a good example of what the future could look like for airport gas stations. So as I mentioned, we're at Circle K. This is just outside of the airport. The airport's like right up that way, probably half a mile or so, something like that. And we are here charging up before we return our rental EV, which is something that's very easy to do here in Norway. We'll talk about that in a separate video. Here we have a transformer. And what makes this special, as I'm filming this in the rain, is that they have vacuums there. They have a nice store. They have 7 Alpitronic Hyperchargers. So we're charging on one of them here. All 7 of them are 300 kilowatt capable. And what really makes the economics work here and what allows for the smaller grid connection is that they have energy storage on site. So I don't know exactly how much storage each one of these is. I believe about 50 kilowatt hour and about 50 kilowatt output. And it's really starting to rain here. But they have 6 of those. So 300 kilowatt hour, I'm assuming. Here they have the energy cabinet or AC distribution cabinet that then spreads it around to the different site. And they have 3 gas pumps there. And let's go in the car so we can talk about it a little bit more so I'm not getting completely rained on. And I think what having this type of site enables is that you can actually have people rent EVs and return them at a reasonable state of charge because they have charging available. Bethany and I have rented EVs a few places now, both on business travel for myself and then for our personal travel. And almost every time it's annoying. Not because of the car is great, but because of the charging and returning it charged. So normally you pick up an EV, it's usually somewhere in the like 70 to 90% charge range. Sometimes they'll get it with 100%, which is great. And that's all fine and dandy, except that they then expect you to return it with the same or higher state of charge. Usually there's a cap on the expectation of 70 or 80%, depending on the rental company. But I think that is a key reason that rental EVs in the US at least failed. Most of the rental rental companies are selling off their EV fleets. And also they bought them at the peak of the market. So they bought them when they were way overpriced. And then they are complaining that they depreciated more when actually if they just kept them longer. Why did my charging stop just now? Strange. Okay. Well, I'll fix that in a second. And then they complained that they depreciated when in actuality, if they held on to them longer, then it would have actually just stabilized on depreciation and it wouldn't have been as much of a problem. Also, charging just sucks on EVs when you're renting them because for most people, I've seen some studies, they drive a rental car less than 100 miles, which means that they could pick up a rental car, drive however much they need, and then return it without charging if that was an option. However, most of the time, that's either not an option or you're charged up the wazoo for doing that because you're usually charged like $2 per kilowatt hour or something just completely outrageous. So if you had a rental Silverado, for example, you could be charged $200 or more, or actually potentially $400+ to return it at a low state of charge, which is just madness. But anyway, I'm just rambling here now. My point here is that in order to enable EV rentals, you have to have a couple different things. You have to have a good selection of good EVs. You have to have trained staff that actually know how to tell people about EVs and how to use them. They're not normal for most people still. And people need to understand how to charge them if they do need to charge them. And most of the time, the rental staff are clueless, unfortunately. Some of the rental companies do a good job of sending information ahead of time via email, but a lot of people won't read that. Then when they go to pick it up, they don't know how to operate it. So potentially sending some DIYs or something, like some videos of how to use it, if it's a Tesla, especially because it's just a bit different. Even if they are easy to operate, it's just different for most people. like even just knowing how to put it in gear.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you need to have staff teach people how to charge, or at least give them a resource of how to charge. So at least here in Norway, you can use an app like Elton that will activate just about every charger out there. In the US, we don't really have that. You could potentially use the ChargePoint app, but even that won't activate Tesla chargers or Electrify America chargers, which are two of the major charging networks that you kind of need if you want to do a road trip, which is really annoying. Neither of those play nice with others as far as roaming currently, which is also a big hindrance in the US market. Whereas here, all the major players actually play nice with each other. Tesla in a little bit different way, but hopefully that improves over time. And then you also need to allow people to return it with a low state of charge and not charge them an exorbitant amount of money to charge it back up. Because the rental car companies need to have charging infrastructure that they can actually turn them around and charge them quickly to then rent them out again. So they need to have at least 50 kilowatt charging, I'd say, so that they can charge up in like an hour or something, or have them in their detail bays where they're vacuuming them and all that while they're flipping them. And then that way people can just rent a car, drive it as much as they need, and they can return it low state of charge, and then they don't even think about it. And then that's a better indication of how that would actually be in the real world, because you'd just be starting with a full charge and then not thinking about it. Another aspect that could improve is that hotel charging often sucks. As I've shown many times in my US road trip videos, most of the time, if you're traveling and renting a car, you're staying in a hotel. And a lot of hotels do have charging now, but unfortunately, a lot of those hotels have really terrible charging. It's either overpriced, unreliable, or both. And usually not enough of them if it is working, because usually the ones that do have it working, people realize that and go out of their way to use it. And then there's usually only one or two. Sometimes you'll get lucky and there's four, but at a hotel with 300-400 rooms, even that's not enough. So lots of things need to improve for EVs to be viable as a rental in the US market.
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest point that I've seen is using like Boston Logan as more of an example, where there's plenty of gas infrastructure, I guess you could say, right surrounding the airport, but it's very difficult to find a charger. I know they just installed that one that we looked at. Yeah,
the Boston Gigahub from BP.
That's, again, very dependent on, like, if people don't drive an EV, especially in the US where it's less common that people drive EVs to an extent, they have no idea how to utilize it. And if they're needing adapters, like, to an extent, Tesla would be the easy option because it routes you to their chargers. You don't need any sort of adapter, things like that. So that side would be
it also will
easier.
Just bill you and then bill you on the rental.
But before I drove a Tesla, I had no idea how to function it, and I would have had zero comfort level just jumping into a Tesla and saying, okay, let's go.
You have no idea how easy it is realistically.
Yes, but it is different for people who learn to drive with a gas pedal and a brake pedal, multiple stalks to utilize, a gas pump versus a charge port, etc. Like, there's so many nuances that are different that the comfort level just isn't there. And then you take a totally separate EV where there's plenty of other good EV options, but they don't have route planning in the same way. They don't have the ability to use...
They don't give you the adapters to use superchargers, for example.
Like, you can't use that.
Pretty critical.
Yeah, the adapters, I think, are a big part that they're not giving you. And like you said, just not having, like, any sort of explanation of how the car works. Like, I don't know if that, I mean, obviously it's been a while since either of us went through driver's ed. I don't know if that's becoming a thing in driver's eds, but that
they taught us how to get gas in driver's ed, but I doubt they're teaching how to charge an EV in driver's ed.
Right. So, like, I think it needs to start realistically that early. If by the time people going through driver's ed right now are going to be buying their own cars in the future, if those are EVs, it would be helpful for them to have that knowledge from the get-go. Like, at this point, you still need knowledge of both, in my opinion.
Yes.
Not one
you need to be
the
familiar
other, per se.
It's just like how I would still recommend teaching someone how to drive a manual transmission, even though they may not ever need to use it. It's still a good skill to have.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, it is different, but they need to make it as simplistic as a gas car is essentially to rent in the US markets, where it currently is not to that level. Like, you obviously look for EVs, that's
but I also have to travel with 3 adapters. Correct. Which gets my my carry-on luggage checked every time and takes up like
a lot of the suitcase,
an eighth of my suitcase, which is crazy. So I usually carry a NACS to CCS, a CCS to NACS, and a J1772 to NACS adapter, because I want the adapters to be able to use a non-Tesla with superchargers or a Tesla with potential hotel charging, slow charging, or with CCS charging, just depending on what's available. And those are the adapters I have, but a non-EV driver, and most even EV drivers wouldn't have all those adapters for cars that they don't own.
No,
I'm a nerd.
Definitely are somebody that gets reached out to often from friends saying, hey, do you have this?
Yeah, I loan out adapters all the time. Like, I have all my adapters labeled with my last name on them, so it's clear that it's mine, and then like I let people use them fairly often.
Yeah, it's just not, I mean, at this point, renting a gas car in the US is an easier option.
Unfortunately.
Coming to now a place like Norway, where like seemingly like renting an EV seems to be a better option, most likely.
I'd say it's as easy as gas here.
Yeah.
And way cheaper. And you pay half price on most tolls here too, so that saves you quite a bit of money.
Yes, and just seeing the transition of the gas stations realistically, like when we stopped at, I don't remember which stop it was, the gas place had lines because there were only 3, maybe 4 pumps.
Yeah.
But the EV chargers were mostly,
wide open.
Yeah. So like you are experiencing almost that side now where, and I don't know how accurate Google or Apple or whatever map you use is of knowing like, hey, this Circle K has been converted to.
It's pretty good.
Well, that's great. But
yeah,
if it doesn't know,
yeah,
like, then that would be a problem. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Just different ways to go about it, I guess.
We have a long ways to go in the US on making rental EVs viable. Norway has it sorted, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't have full comfort level with renting EVs in the US, depending on where we're going and what we're doing.
Yeah, and that's with me, an EV nerd that can figure out just about anything.
Yeah,
a normal person
would
struggle.
Myself. That's you're there, you're present.
I'm running the show generally as far as the car goes.
Yeah, and there are still times where it's we're getting a gas car regardless.
Yeah, where you're like, this is not worth it.
Yeah, when I know it's gonna be too difficult.
Yeah.
To locate.
Also, Chevy Bolts don't make any sense as a rental usually because they charge too slow. They're fine if you allow people to bring them back not charged, but if you expect people to bring them back charged, they charge terribly, and that's just unreasonable to expect someone to go sit for an hour and charge it before they return it. So anyway, would love to hear what you guys think. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. See you guys on the next one.